What's up, everybody? We are here with Hope Holmes, who's going to be fighting for Fusion Fight League on August 29th against Victoria Anthony. Hope, thank you so much for taking the time. And I just want to take these opportunities to get to know you as a person and as a fighter. So, first question, how did you get into combat sports?
So I've been part of martial arts for a long time. I started when I guess my interest started when I was about 16, 17 years old. I had my brother-in-law, one of my best friends was in martial arts, and they kind of just started piquing my interest, I guess. And I would kind of play around with them. And then I met my husband at 18 and he owned a gym. And as soon as I met him, I instantly started competing in striking, so kickboxing and taekwondo. And then slowly just started getting into it.
Cool. I actually trained Taekwondo a long time ago when I was a kid. And then now I train Muay Thai with a break in between. But it's always interesting when you have fighters with the Taekwondo background, or even when you spar with fighters with Taekwondo background, throwing some really interesting techniques. Do you weave some of those more flashy kicks and flashy techniques into your fight style?
Absolutely. I'd probably say more flashy footwork than kicks,
Okay.
especially in MMA. Because I mean, when I did a couple Muay Thai little smokers and stuff, and I definitely did some flashy kicks in those. But going into MMA, I've been a little more conservative and throwing spinning back kicks or reverse hook kicks, just because the possibility of a takedown is too high.
Sure. That makes
But
sense.
definitely the footwork for sure.
Now, you said it piqued your interest when you were 16. Is that because were you already somebody who was interested in combat sports, or maybe finding yourself in some scuffles along the way that got you interested, or what was it at 16 that got you involved?
Well, I was always an athlete growing up. Sports was a huge part of my life. I did volleyball, basketball, track, cross country. And I actually fractured my spine when I was 16 and got
Okay.
told that I could never play basketball again. And that was, at that point, that's what my whole future was like. I thought I was
Mm.
going to be a basketball player, which at 4'11" sounds ridiculous.
Mm.
but
One of the
um,
dogs.
but I did have a scholarship offer on the table. And then when I fractured my
Oh.
back, that got taken off.
Mm.
And so I was kind of wanting to know, like, well, where's the next athletic adventure, because I just didn't think at 16 that my athletic career was done.
Mhm.
And so I kept with running for a little bit, but then always just enjoyed fighting. I thought it was really fun to watch. I always had a huge respect for the way that martial artists could have
Mhm.
respect for one another, but still like, I'm going to beat you up, but you're not actually beating them up, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. I
What
totally
was
get
the
that.
dynamic?
Were you watching the UFC at a young age?
It was, I mean, UFC was pretty, I'm 36, so UFC was actually just in its kind of beginning phases then. And it was, women fighters weren't really a thing. So I didn't really know that. I think Gina Carano was the first female fighter I ever
Mhm.
watched.
Ah, okay,
And
cool.
so she was the first one that when I saw her fight, I was like, wait, I can do this too. Like, it's not just something that I think is awesome to watch. But up to that point, I didn't really know outside of like Taekwondo, karate kind of things that females could actually do combat sports.
Got you. Okay. So this is how you got into the sport, and then once you started training, or let's even fast forward to today. Are there elements with your striking background in Taekwondo and all these different things? What are the elements that you appreciate the most, or is it one of those things with you now at this point you just love all aspects and elements of mixed martial arts?
Yeah, so I definitely love all aspects of it. I know the jiu-jitsu wrestling was definitely the one that I was most hesitant to start doing. I always loved striking was like
Yeah.
second home. As soon as I started doing it, I loved it.
Mhm.
I was always really claustrophobic as a kid, so the initialness of like jiu-jitsu and wrestling freaked me out. And it wasn't
Mm.
until I started doing really like I wanted to do MMA, like, and I got like hungry for it, and I kept telling my husband like I want to do it, and he's
Mhm.
like, you have to be well-rounded. He's like, you can't just be a
Mm.
striker. And
Yep.
then I actually, once I finally got over my fear of it, I actually completely fell in love with it. And
Mm.
I've said now I've probably competed in jiu-jitsu than more than any of my other like combat sports combined.
Oh, wow, that's wild. I did not know that. I think I saw one grappling match on your Tapology, but I didn't know you've done so much jujitsu train or jujitsu competitions. So that's really
Mhm.
interesting. What are you anticipating in this matchup? I'm not sure if you've watched tape or studied Victoria Anthony too much yet, but what do you think we can anticipate in terms of this matchup?
I mean, so Victoria's obviously a very well-known wrestler. She's a high-level judo player. Her and I were actually on Team USA together one season when we did MMAF.
Mm.
She actually got the 105 spot, so I had to fight up to 115,
Okay.
and so I was itty bitty in that division, but that's okay. And it was fun. So I know she's going to be there for like a heavy wrestler. I did seen something. She's definitely working on her striking. I hope to make it a little more of a striking match, just because again, that's what I love. I think those are exciting fights to watch. I
Yes,
don't really want to watch a wrestling match if someone just sits there and holds. You know, it's on the ground. I just don't want a holding match. So that would be
sure.
my only thing. But outside of that, I think it's going to be a super fun fight.
So in terms of what you like to watch, right? You're talking about being an MMA fan from back in the day. So just curious, I'm a huge UFC fan. I'm actually 46, so I'm 10 years older than you and but I was started watching MMA. We used to start watching the UFC tapes back in the day. My buddy got all the DVDs, so we were watching the old school. I'm talking old school, like Tank Abbott. Tank Abbott was one of my
Oh yeah.
favorites for a really long time. What about you? Who are some of you? And let's go over to the present. Who are some of your favorite active UFC fighters right now?
So right now, so Valentina is still one of them. She is a complete martial artist. I think she is the ideal, like just complete martial artist. She can grapple, she can wrestle, she can strike beautifully, obviously.
Mhm.
So as a complete martial artist, I'd say Valentina.
Okay.
Striking wise, I love watching Silva. I'm trying to blank on her first name right now. It's like I think it's
Oh,
Natalie Silva.
Natalie Silva. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
I've been loving watching her lately. The
Mhm.
way she mixes in some of those like fancy kicks and stuff is so much
Yeah.
fun. And she's one of my more up and coming ones that I really like watching. Tabitha Ritchie's a lot of fun. I love Sean O'Malley's striking because it's
Mhm.
fun and unique. And then I love Patty's jiu-jitsu. It's a lot of fun.
What'd you think of Patty's finish last week?
Oh, it was awesome. I love it. I love seeing and that's the fun thing I love. What I've grown to love about jiu-jitsu is
Mhm.
as long as you have the concept of a choke, you have the concept of an armbar, you can set those up from anywhere. And so
Mhm.
I love seeing the creativity. Someone can come up, me and my son and my husband will grapple and we'll just play around with jiu-jitsu. And we're like, hey, we're like, that's what cool move. What was that? We're like, I have no idea, but it felt right. And
Right, right.
that's one of the most fun things about jiu-jitsu.
Just a random question on that fight because I find it kind of fun. I love the sport. I love to talk about it, but I know I'm not a professional. I'm not a fighter, and so I am always reluctant to be too analytical. As like they should have done this or they shouldn't have done that. And I did hear some journalists saying, "Why did BSD do that? He jumped in and grappled, and that was a mistake. He made a terrible mistake." But in my mind, I'm like, well, he obviously must have felt confident doing that, and that was maybe part of the game plan. What's your take as a fighter, as a jujitsu practitioner and all this? What is your take on BSD's strategy coming into that fight?
I mean, when you're going to someone like Patty, I mean, obviously you saw with the Justin Gaethje fight, like he's got that dog in him and striking too. It was going to be a tough fight anywhere you go.
Mhm.
However, I'd say unless you have really top level jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't go to the ground with Patty. He's
Okay.
shown in a lot of his matches that he's got some slick, like he can send it from the top, from the bottom. So, and I don't know much about the other guys like jiu-jitsu on the ground. I know his wrestling is good,
Yeah.
but so I wouldn't have taken Patty to the ground if you didn't feel like your submission, at least defense, was top notch. But maybe he
Fair
thought
enough.
it was. So,
But see, but I value your opinion, not necessarily people who don't train or fight. You know what I mean? So just as a fun thing, I just wanted to
oh
get
yeah.
your thoughts on that. Now let's go back and focus on you outside of fighting. What are is I saw I heard you mentioned you have a son. What's your greatest passion or passions outside of the fight game?
So I mean, fighting is a big part of my whole family. Me and my husband won the gym. We won global martial arts. My son, my daughter both do it,
Hmm.
and I said for us, it is like a whole family business.
Okay.
I love teaching the kids. Teaching like the little bitty ones is my absolute favorite. I've been teaching them since I was about 19, and that's my favorite class to teach. They're so much fun. And I do physical therapy as well.
Mm.
I haven't been practicing as much since I've focused on fighting and growing the gym and growing my own kids. They're 13 and 11.
Mhm.
So kind of getting them in their own field. And then I'll go back to physical therapy some.
That's got to be a nice pairing, having the background in physical therapy and being a fighter. I'm sure you have everything dialed in from before the fight to after the fight, I imagine.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know. Like I said, I'm very big on prehab, like getting your body in good condition so you avoid injuries. Especially being an older fighter, I started fighting at 29, so I knew
Okay.
going into it, hey, if I'm going to have a career, I've got to make sure that I'm keeping muscular balance to not get injured.
Can I ask I mean, again, if some of this stuff is proprietary, you don't want to share, don't share, but is there anything that you can share that maybe some of the things that you like to do leading up to a fight?
I mean, I want to make sure that everything, like I said, to me, martial arts, especially mixed martial arts, is a complete package. So making sure conditioning, cardio, strength, striking, grappling, wrestling, everything needs to be on point. And I try to make sure I don't leave a part aspect out of that. I took a lot of GSP's mindset when he talked about balance and footwork comes a lot of play and keeping injuries away. And so I work a lot of balance. I work a lot of, like I said, just that body work to make sure everything's healthy.
Any red light therapy, cold plunge, things along those lines?
So I haven't played with red light therapy too much. Cold plunge and sauna, I do a lot. I like doing the combination of those two,
Okay.
and just a lot of like stretching and, but not just like static stretching. A lot of different dynamic stretching and stuff as well.
Got you. Okay, very cool. As we close out the interview, do you have, oh no, actually, wait, one question, then we'll close out the interview. Is your family, a whole family, going to be in attendance for your fight?
I don't know yet. I don't usually let my daughter go to them. She's like I said, she's 11. She's a little younger, and
Okay.
she's a little more sensitive.
Okay.
So
Right.
I've only let her come to one of my fights ever, and of course, it was the only fight that I ever got a concussion in and had to be like put on oxygen. So
Mm,
after that, I kind of made a rule. I was like, okay, she's never going to be at one again.
okay.
My son is 13. He's almost 14, and he's getting into the world of MMA himself.
Okay.
And he's also my main grappling partner now.
Oh, that's cool.
So he really wants to go with me to this fight to help me warm up for the grappling in the back. So I'm back and forth on him right now. But my husband's one of my coaches, so he'll for sure be there.
Got you. Okay. And now, as we close it out, excuse me, what can we expect to see, if you want to speak to the audience, what can we expect to see on August 29th?
I'm looking forward for my name's Hope Hummingbird Holmes, and Hummingbird means because I like to go fast. So
Okay.
I want a fast, high paced fight that's going to be fun, entertaining. I like to fight, so I like to put on a fun show. So I said I don't want a boring holding match. I want a fun, entertaining match to go.
All right. There you guys have it. Hope Holmes. Hope, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Best of luck, and look forward to meeting you at the weigh-ins for this
All right.
August 29th fight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Take it easy.